this Pierre? That's not Pierre. That doesn't look like Woo! Woo! That's not Pierre either. Let's go, Pierre! Let's go, Pierre! Pierre for PM! Pierre!
Who's ready to go?
Woo!
Okay, I'm Brad Fitz. I guess I'm MC tonight. I got the easy job because all you guys are so pumped already. Who's excited to see Canada's next Prime Minister? All right, I love the energy here tonight. How many people we got from Vancouver? Abbotsford. Mission. Yeah, all right. Okay, I got one housekeeping item before we go. If you haven't voted for Pierre yet to be Canada's next Prime Minister, my good friend Trevor is right outside. He can help you. I already know I talked to a lot of you coming in. Thank you all for getting your ballots in. You are all awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to keep this really short. I think we should just start saying his name or something and get him to come out. So I'm just going to say, without further ado, Pierre Poilievre, guys. Let's rock the free world. Let's hear it.
Harvest it in the fall. We planted 311,959 seeds. That's the number of memberships that we sold in the spring. But that doesn't count unless we harvest the crop. In other words, unless people send in their ballots and vote. Has everyone in this room voted already? There's still a little bit of time left, but not much. And that's why we're out rallying across the country. I think the reason that we have had this unprecedented movement, record-smashing numbers, to create a total membership of 675,000 members, the biggest political party in Canadian history. It's because people are tired of being bullied by big bossy government. They're tired of a prime minister that pushes them around and speaks down to them and calls them terrible names. And they're ready to stand up and demand their birthright, their God-given right to live in the freest country on earth. Freedom means taking control of your own medical decisions, having the right to work across the border. income. Why is this? Why is it that everything is so expensive? Well, it's not just housing. You also see it with food price inflation up 10%, or the cost of fuel, $1.89 a liter here today, making it next to impossible for many working class families to get where they're going. Why have prices risen so fast under Justin Trudeau? It's pretty simple. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. $500 billion of inflationary deficits means more dollars chasing fewer goods, which leads to higher prices. Inflationary taxes makes it more expensive for businesses to produce those same goods. The more Trudeau spends, the more things cost. It's just inflation, isn't it?
Just inflation! Trudeau's gotta go!
Printing cash is no way to make people better off. You have 10 loaves of bread, $10. Well, it's $1 for each loaf of bread. If you increase the number of dollars to 20, but you still have 10 loaves of bread, well, all of a sudden, it's $2 for a loaf of bread, right? That's what our Bank of Canada has been doing, printing money to fund Justin Trudeau's spending, leading to 8% inflation, a 40-year high. The Bank of Canada has one job: keep inflation at 2%, not 8%. Tell me, what happens when a waitress, a barber, or a mechanic doesn't do their job?
Fired!
A big shot banker who works for Justin Trudeau, making nearly $500,000 a year, who doesn't do his job, he gets to keep it regardless. That's how things work in Justin Trudeau's Ottawa. That's what the bill will. When I become Prime Minister, we're going to bring the real world to Ottawa. I will fire the bank governor and replace him. Spending under control. I'll bring in a new approach that manages your money with the same respect that you manage your own money. Now we'll get rid of the $35 billion infrastructure bank that does nothing but pay bonuses to executives and protect profits of multinationals while it hasn't completed a single project in 5 years. That's a perfect opportunity to save some money. I'm going to axe the $35 billion infrastructure bank. Save $1 billion by defunding the CBC. Just like a small business does, but not government. You see, Thomas Sowell, the great economist, once said, I like Thomas Sowell, he's got lots of fans everywhere. The number one rule of economics is scarcity. People always want more than there is to have. The number one rule of politics is to ignore the number one rule of economics, right? Politicians are the only creatures in the universe that do not have to live with scarcity. The birds, the trees, the fish, and the seas all have to maximize use of limited resources to survive and thrive. But the politician merely pushes his scarcity onto other people through higher debt, taxes, and inflation. Well, what if we passed a law that said politicians have to find $1 of savings every time they bring in a new dollar of spending? Of debt. And as soon as the law lapsed, America went right back into deficit and has not emerged ever since, proving the age-old rule that politicians need legal limits on their spending. You have been pinching your pennies long enough. It's time for politicians to pinch their pennies too. Currency. You deserve to give money. Instead of creating more cash, why don't we create more of what cash buys? Build more houses, grow more food, and produce more energy right here in Canada. We need to get the government gatekeepers out of the way. No bigger example than Vancouver City Hall. You know what this thing? The gatekeepers at City Hall in Vancouver have added $650,000 of cost to every single new unit of housing built in the city. Through delays, through permitting charges, through taxes, through more delays, through consultants, lawyers, and all the fees that you have to pay. And every penny of it is passed on to the end buyer. The developers don't care. They just pass the price on to the buyer. That's why the young people in this city cannot afford a place to live. 35-year-olds living in their parents' basements. Whenever I ask how you bring home a date when you have your own basement, there's usually a mother in the crowd who says, very carefully. When I was 14, we used to bring our dates in through the side window. Like, you're not going to tell my mother that, right? But truthfully, how is it that you start a life, raise a family, build home equity, have collateral or credit history if you can't afford a home? A home ownership is the basic building block of economic opportunity. It is the springboard that gives the poor, the working class, and the newcomer the chance to start a life and build a better future. To do that, we need to actually build houses. Here's how we're going to do it. The Poilievre government will link the number of infrastructure dollars a big city gets to the number of houses that actually get completed, so that the city hall politicians have an incentive to get the gatekeepers out of the way, get construction started, and get people houses. Secondly, I will require that every single federally funded transit station have pre-approved high-density housing right around it, so that our young people live right next to the station, right? Also, sell off 15% of the underutilized 37,000 federal buildings so that we can convert that into housing and convert the proceeds of sales into deficit reduction. It warms my heart to think of the beautiful family pulling up in their U-Haul to empty out their belongings into their wonderful new home, the former headquarters of the CBC. Of arable land per capita on Earth, and yet 4 and 5 families are having to cut their diets because they can't afford the rising cost of food. Worse, Trudeau's gatekeepers are piling on more and more costs to our farmers with a carbon tax that increases the cost of fertilizer and energy. And then he wants to increase the carbon tax by 200%. You know this carbon tax? They applied it to this tomato farmer in my ride, his greenhouse. And they wanted to tax him on the CO2 that he releases into the greenhouse, even though it's absorbed by the plant life. Apparently, Justin missed that day in science class. So here's the result. It's more expensive to buy a Manotick tomato in Manotick than a Mexican tomato in Manotick. So we're signaling to consumers that they should pay for the tomato that had to be transported by truck and train, burning fuel all the way from Mexico rather than buying the local produce. Furthermore, Trudeau wants to cut back on fertilizer by 30%, which of course will mean it will take more land to grow the same amount of food. So they'll have to run the combines, the tractors, longer distances, burning yet more fuel. And of course, more of our production will be outsourced to faraway lands with less environmental protections, and then truck and train long distances burning yet more fuel to bring those goods to us. Didn't we learn during COVID how irresponsible it was to rely on the rest of the world to provide us with our essentials? Shouldn't we learn to take care of ourselves? Get off the back. officers who roll around in gut-splitting laughter at what a sucker our Prime Minister is. Just last month, he violated his own sanctions against Putin to send a turbine back that we've been maintaining in Montreal that powers the gas transmission through Putin's pipeline over to Germany. Now, remember, this is the same Prime Minister who's against building pipelines in Canada, but who's in favor of maintaining pipelines in Russia that ultimately allow Putin to fund his war against Ukraine. This while we have 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas that we could be sending around the world to displace the dirty dictators. And we have an enormous advantage in that natural gas production. One, we have so much of it. Two, the shortest shipping distance to Asia from Canada is British Columbia. The shortest distance to Europe from North America is Newfoundland. And three, how do you get natural gas to become a liquid so it can go on a ship? You cool it down. And what do we have in Canada? Cold weather. Oh, stop complaining. You don't have cold weather out here. You know how cold weather is. You know how cold it gets in Ottawa. It was so cold last winter, Justin Trudeau had his hands in his own pockets. There are 15 proposals for natural gas liquefaction and export terminals when Justin Trudeau took office. 0 have been built, and so exactly 0 of our natural gas is directly shipped overseas from Canada. A Poilievre government will remove the government gatekeepers, repeal C-69, the anti-energy law, and replace it with a law that consults First Nations, protects our environment, but gets projects built so that we can liquefy natural gas and we can ship it to Asia to shut down coal-fired plants and ship it to Europe for great independence. Newfoundland's plan to increase its oil production by 400,000 barrels a day so that we can fully replace the 130,000 barrels of overseas oil from foreign dictatorships we're bringing in. And within 5 years, we will end dictator oil imports to Canada altogether. And I will ban all my ministers from any involvement in the World Economic Forum. Here we are. The most brilliant people from around the world are coming to Canada. Immigrants for Pierre, look at that. Our immigrants come here with incredible skills, and yet gatekeepers stand in the way of their ability to use those skills. The thousands of doctors who are trained abroad and practiced for decades come here expecting to be able to treat patients that then local gatekeepers don't give them a license. They don't even give them an answer. And so they wait, often doing low-wage jobs, unable to ever pursue the dreams for which they worked so hard and which they came here to pursue in the very first place. Meanwhile, my blood boils when I sit in a waiting room at a hospital with my little girl and she suffers from a migraine because we have a doctor shortage. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the doctors. We just need to allow them to practice medicine. A Poilievre government. Yes, that's right. Will sign deals with the provinces, bringing a 60-day guarantee so that within 60 days of an immigrant professional applying to work in his profession, he should get a yes or no answer based on tested ability, not based on where they come from. Yes, that's right. And we're before they get to Canada so they can arrive and hit the ground running. For those falling just short of the Canadian standard, we'll back up 30,000 small, privately delivered study loans so they can take the time off work, study up, get licensed, get to work as doctors, engineers, electricians, earning big, powerful, inflation-proof paychecks, serving our economy and our fellow Canadians. These gun criminals are getting their firearms brought in from the United States by traffickers. A small minority of people commit a vast majority of the violent crimes, but yet Justin Trudeau's revolving door justice system puts them right back out on the street without any serious consequences. Meanwhile, he wants to spend $1 billion buying back the sporting and hunting rifles and pellet guns out in the countryside that is shooting up downtown Vancouver, right? That is why a Poilievre government will, instead of targeting our law-abiding duck hunters and farmers, I will toughen our justice system and put the real criminals behind bars. See and say online. The woke warriors. Any wokesters in the room? No wokesters here. You know what the woke movement is really about? It's about dividing people. You know, Trudeau wants to divide people by race, by ethnicity, by sexuality, and now by vaccine status. Well, why? Your trucker, your co-worker, well, then you'll turn to him and offer him more power and control over your life to protect you from your fellow citizen. And so he introduces a bill like C-11, which will give gatekeepers at CRTC the control over what appears in your newsfeed or your YouTube stream, and allow those bureaucrats to dictate the public debate in this country, obviously shutting out your voice and the voice of countless other people. Ladies and gentlemen, we have something called Section 2B of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Unfortunately, yes, we can applaud that. It's a very important section.
Yes.
Unfortunately, not a lot of university campuses are aware of that section, right? The woke warriors there try to shut down debate by professors and students, requiring everybody to adhere to the same woke, politically correct consensus. They push Jordan Peterson out of the University of Toronto, right? Now, you don't have to like Jordan Peterson, but if you disagree with him, debate him, right? Debate him. Have a debate, but they don't want to have a debate. They know they will lose the debate. We believe as conservatives that everyone should have a voice and the best ideas will rise to the top. Section 2B, 2B or not 2B? That is the question. Universities that want federal grants or any research to commit that they will honor freedom of expression rights contained in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, so students and faculty can exchange those ideas. You know what I love most about freedom? There's a lot of things I love about freedom. But unlike control, freedom unites people. Let me explain why. See, control, there's only 100% of it. So it's a zero-sum game. One person gets more control, somebody else must get less. That's why people fight over control. Freedom is different. It's an unlimited supply. That's why people fight for freedom. If your neighbor gets more freedom, you are not left with less freedom. You too get more freedom, right? If, for example, your Muslim neighbor gets more religious freedom, and you as a Hindu or a Sikh or a Christian will have more religious freedom, right? If that doctor who comes as an immigrant gets the freedom to practice, or if that person who was fired because of their vaccine status gets to go back as a nurse, you will have the freedom to have better medical care, right? Then you'll have the freedom to buy his products more affordably, and your teenager might have the freedom to get a job working for him. You see, one person's freedom is another person's freedom. So instead of divide and conquer, why don't we unite for freedom in this country? Near to September 10th. In fact, it's not even the beginning of the end, but it is the end of the beginning. Do you know that this is the last major rally of my leadership campaign? Of these rallies, with a total of 93,000 people who have RSVP'd right across the country. Isn't that incredible? Over 6 months, I've been on the road, coast to coast to coast to coast, all 10 provinces, and countless hamlets, villages, and towns. It's been an emotional experience. Long distance from my family, meeting one. And I want to speak to all the people who come to my rallies. You know, I have a policy. Every rally, I have a and I invite every single person who comes to shake my hand. Sometimes we stay till 1 in the morning, so that not a single person leaves without having a chance to have their say. And you've told me your stories. Some of them have been hilarious. Some have been long. Some of them have been painful and told behind a shower of tears. I have met a woman who lost her 2 children to opioid overdoses. Can you imagine losing 2 sons, or only 2 sons? I've met elderly widows who can no longer pay their bills and wonder how they will ever be able to live out their days. I have met that immigrant who came here for a better life and is banned from working in this job. I have met a miner in Timmins who could not afford the $2.50 a liter diesel to drive all the way over to Thunder Bay to see his dying parents one last time. I have met the energy worker in St. John's, Newfoundland, who tapes up his boots because he cannot afford new ones. I have met countless young people stuck in 400 square foot apartments. Even though they did everything that we asked them to do, they earned their degree, they worked hard, and they gave their best. And I have seen again and again that as people speak up, the government cracks down, leaving people feeling bullied and powerless in their own country, which they no longer recognize. I have seen not anger, but I have seen pain. There are people in this country who are just hanging on by a thread. But you know what else I've seen? I've seen hope. I've seen hope from people who believe there's a chance to take our country back and put themselves back in charge of their lives. Hope that there's nothing wrong with this country that cannot be fixed by what is right with this country. Hope that this democracy of ours belongs to every single one of us, that we can transform this again from an aristocracy back to a meritocracy. You know, when I was a kid, I was adopted from a 16-year-old unwed mother, whose mother herself had just died. And my 2 parents were school teachers who adopted me and taught me that it didn't matter where I came from. It mattered where I was going. It didn't matter who I knew. It mattered what I could do. children, that we can rekindle that hope, that we can bring back the Canada that gives everybody the opportunity to get ahead through their own hard work, that in the words of the great Canadian Prime Minister John Diefenbaker, I am a Canadian, a free Canadian, free to speak without fear, free to stand for what I think right, free to oppose what I believe wrong, free to worship God in my own way, free to choose those who shall govern my country. It is this heritage of freedom I pledge to uphold for myself and for all of mankind. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it a round for Pierre Poilievre. As our future Prime Minister mentioned, he's going to stick around because he wants to meet every single one of you tonight. So if you want to have a quick word with Pierre, you'll line up on the left side, to my left over here near the exit signs. Pierre's going to be on the right side. We're going to start forming a line really, really quickly. But most importantly, I want to thank everyone for an awesome night tonight. I want to thank everyone for being so polite, for rocking the free world, for coming and standing up for democracy. Thank you so much.
And there we have it, folks. Here, 4 p.m. There's a lot of support here in Vancouver and the surrounding areas. Whew! I am dry in the voice from screaming and yelling and cheering and yelping. Let's go, Pierre Poilievre. Thank you so much, Pierre, for Prime Minister.